We are just learning now, just into CNN, apparently Princess Diana has been in a serious road accident in Paris.
That was a summer night. About 10 minutes to 1, I got a call from the assignment desk in Atlanta saying that there had been an accident.
It is now 2 in the morning, local time in Paris.
When it was finally confirmed, I was on my way to Paris at that point, and they asked me to stop alongside the road and immediately start talking, get on the air on my cell phone, talk to the anchors in Atlanta.
Well, Lyndon, the reports are still sketchy at this time, but what we're hearing is that Princess Diana was severely injured in that crash. And
immediately, lips were sealed all over town. Trying to get any information was very difficult.
We're at the scene now, and the police here have sealed off both ends of the tunnel. We can see the emergency vehicles down in the tunnel.
We knew she was in the back of the car. It was difficult to know how bad her injuries were because, in fact, the back part of the car didn't look that badly damaged. We were to discover later that she'd been thrown around inside the car, and the impact had done severe bodily damage to her inside the car. Here in Paris, we were originally told that Princess Diana is in grave condition. Now the police have stopped giving us reports on the condition. We know that.
We have some very sad news to bring you. We are just getting word that the French government has informed all of us that Princess Diana has died.
Her coffin draped to the House of Windsor's royal standard, the body of Princess Diana was removed from the Paris hospital where she died. To have seen this happen right there, right in the heart of Paris, here is a person sort of well-protected and young, vital, well-known, and she's suddenly dead. It was something that I think shocked us all.
Welcome back. The 1990s, a decade in which terrorism really struck home here in the United States. Just recently, we commemorated the 5th anniversary of the worst such attack, an attack that was almost incomprehensible.
Wow. Holy cow. About a third of the building has been blown away.
Amazement is not strong enough to describe the feeling of seeing this building which had imploded from the force of the bomb.
What the heck happened?
Seeing the floors pointing downward and knowing that in this crater, with hundreds of tons of concrete topping it, there were human beings still in that. There's not a word in the English language that I can think of that describes the feeling. There's a phrase, you had to be there.
Information just now coming into the CNN Center, and we have learned that there has been a large explosion at the federal courthouse building in Oklahoma City.
This is live from KFOR.
Running around trying to find friends and co-workers. The streets are filled with people, and the streets are just filled with debris.
You can see it's the Alfred Murrow Federal Building, and you can see the smoke obviously everywhere. And everyone here is running around trying to find out exactly what's happening. There, if you take a look, you can see where the explosion happened. You can see the huge cloud of black smoke.
The first thing you do when you get to a story like this is you try to cover what's right in front of you. And what's right in front of you is a big burned out building. Then you start to realize there were a lot of people in that building, and they start to bring out bodies. And it begins to strike you that there are dead people there, and then there are more bodies that come out, and the count starts to go up. There's an announcement of the 51st body. There's an announcement of the 53rd body. You notice that there are a lot of small bodies being brought out, and as the body count became official, you began to realize that someone walked down that street in Oklahoma City and murdered 168 people.
And as you can see right there, it looks like, unfortunately, and very sadly, it looks like a war zone.
It was devastating to see this happen in our own country, in a town like Oklahoma City, that children, either in diapers or just barely out of them, were killed.
Searchers are just now getting close to the area they dread the most, the daycare center.
Heavy rain slowed the search for more victims, and consequently, so too the families searching for miracles, praying that pockets in the rubble will provide a shelter for life.
On a personal level, which has never happened to me ever, I cried over the Oklahoma City bombing. The country had lost its innocence that day.
The bombing took lives and blew apart buildings, but it also brought people here together as never before. I know. I grew up in Oklahoma City.
Having been born and raised in Oklahoma City, it was something that was impossible to believe. Not my hometown. I went through the list of the victims and did not recognize immediately any names because I wanted to see if I knew any of the 168 victims. And then one day I was in the CNN workspace, and a man that I had worked with 20 years before, Bud Welch, that I had known and been very close to for a short period of time, walked in. And I found out that his daughter was one of the people who was killed.
I'd heard about a young mother who had lost 2 children, Chase and Colton. And I wrote Edie Smith a letter and left it in her mailbox. And I told her that if she wanted to speak, we would be there.
What do you do when people ask you, do you have children? What do you say? Well, I did have children. My children are dead. What do you say? You don't know what to say.
We're all supposed to be very tough journalists, but I'll tell you, in the middle of that interview, I turned around to look at my camera crew, and all of us had tears in our eyes.
The pain is so terribly real, but like in all disasters, the hurt will eventually subside. Unfortunately for so many, however, it will never completely go away.
You know, we as reporters are told from day one, you keep your own opinion to yourself and out of your story. I grew up with a father who was a journalist who preached it day in and day out. Just tell the truth. And I've lived by that. Oklahoma City pushed the envelope for me in terms of trying to keep a clear perspective about just the facts and keep my own emotion away from the story. Because really, anybody who was there had to have been emotionally impacted by it.
Bernie?
Thank you, Joe. The fire rescue people, once again, are walking, crawling on their hands and knees, sometimes on their stomachs, to continue this very depressing operation. The worst thing about covering the Oklahoma City bombing at the federal office building was that day in and day out, I went to this scene to cover it, whether it was during the day, afternoon, or night, watching rescuers try to reach people, knowing that there were people dead and some still alive, floors below and all that rubble. And as a fellow human being, there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it.
My prayer for you today is that you will feel the loving arms of God wrapped around you and will know in your heart that he will never forsake you as you trust him. God bless Oklahoma.